All right, I'm gonna try to do a video here, illustrating couple of things with this Kia Sportage PHEV, and it's now in January of 2025. So we have cold temperatures, probably in the upper 20s today, into the 30s, and learning a lot about this car through the year, and how the electricity in the battery is used, combined with its hybrid ability and some other stuff. One of the things that's pretty interesting is how the engine is used in conjunction with the heat. So in the summertime, you could, in theory, drive around all day on battery, as long as you have capacity and you don't need the heater. But as the colder months come around, you need the engine to get heat. In other words, it does not have an electric heater. It's using the heated up coolant in the engine block. So if your car is set for the HVAC is set on auto, and the temperature is something higher than the ambient temperature, the computer is going to say, well, you need heat, and the engine is going to come on. So one of the things I did in the early fall, when nighttime temperatures might go down a little bit, but daytime temperatures weren't enough for me to typically use heat, I would just turn the HVAC off the day before, and that way I can make my own decision about the heat. If I forget to do that, the computer will make that decision when it's in the auto mode, and the engine may come on unexpectedly in the fall or the spring. So I'm going to start the car up now, and I'm going to see when this thing comes up. Okay, right now, all right, so we're saying possible ice, so the temperature is in the 20s, and it says ready to drive. And right now it's in EV mode. You can see up in here, which means if I step on the accelerator, we are going to be driving away using the battery only. And we just heard a noise there, and what happened was the engine cut on, because down here it was in auto mode, and if I press this here, look at the temperature, it's set for 75. 75 is clearly much higher than 26, so it needs the heat of the engine to generate the heat for the car. So in here is the engine temperature gauge, so I can be looking at that, and as that goes up, what's interesting is it will not get even up to normal temperature, which is, say, in the middle of this gauge, with a little small tick is in there, if you can see it. That little tick in the middle, that would be around where normal would be running on a normal day when you have the engine running in any car. But that's not necessary to get that high to provide heat for the car. If you think about it, typical thermostats can run anywhere from the 160s to the most common one, probably 180, and up to 195, and certainly that's way more temperature than you would ever want in your compartment in your car to heat your body. So it just doesn't need that kind of engine block heat to provide heat for the heater system. So what will happen is this gauge will go up just a little bit, and when it's satisfied that it gets enough to meet that 75-degree temperature, in our case, this engine will shut off. So we'll be back in true EV mode. And that's something that I didn't actually know before I bought the car. Somehow I just assumed the engine would just run to normal temperature. It's just not necessary to heat the compartment. So that's interesting. The other thing that you'll notice in here is that the engine is running at this is the tachometer, so the RPMs is floating around 1300, which is basically like idle. and I can rev the engine. You know, I can press on the gas pedal and it doesn't go up because there's not a connection between that pedal and the engine. Because if I come over here to this panel, there's a way that I can take a closer look at the what's going on with how the battery and electricity is used. Hit this button to get it a little bit bigger, and we're just sitting here. So what this is telling us is that the engine is on, which is the orange. The blue represents the electric portion of it. So the engine is generating energy and putting it over towards the battery as we're sitting here. So we're going to drive a little bit, and the wheels, which are a little bit hard to see in this thing, are kind of gray, but the wheels will come into play there when we start driving, and we can see what the source of the energy use is for driving the car. So what will be interesting here is that even though the engine is running in this situation, the car will still be driving the wheels from the battery. So again, engine's running, but it's only running for the purposes of giving us heat. And over here, it's using some of that engine energy to charge the battery. So we'll put it in gear here, and we're going to start driving. And you can see what's happening there is the lines that are going to the wheel are telling us that, in fact, the battery is the thing that's driving the wheels. And we look over here and we see that the engine RPM has not changed. It's still running at idle. So I'm going here in a second. Okay, so here we're driving, and let's look over here, 120 miles an hour, and we got the tachometer has not changed because the engine is only running enough to generate some heat for us. And there you see it. If I change this car setting over here into Econ, out away from the Econ mode, I'm going to switch it over into the Sport mode. And in the Sport mode, it's now engaged the engine more into the picture because my RPM is higher. If I step on the gas, you'll see that goes up. Come back over to here. Now we see something interesting. It's a combination of stuff going over there. Right now it's driving. You see both. You see just electric. Step on the gas a little bit more, and you'll see both. So this thing is intelligently applying the energy from the different sources depending upon what's necessary for the conditions. So here we're all on electric. Step on the gas, get the turbo, and it's doing both. I really step on it. It needs all the engine. Cuts out the electric. Back off a little bit. It's doing both. Very interesting. I'm gonna cut the thing back to econo mode again. Now we have a situation. Look at our temperature gauge. We've managed to heat up the engine by using the turbo in the sport mode really worked the engine some. We got the temperature up just a little bit below what would be normal if you're just using the engine all the time. But notice look over to the tachometer, and then look at the upper right corner of the 1 o'clock on the tachometer. You see the green EV light. So now we're running completely on electric. The heater is happy. We get the heat running in the car because the temperature gauge is fine. And over here, we're all back on electric. You see no motor in play at all. So that motor, the orange thing would light up in orange, the motor thing, once the motor is in play. And because it's not in play anymore, we're already seeing the temperature gauge go back down. So that'll calm back down. I do not have it in sport mode, so I'm not asking anything of the engine intentionally, but that engine will need to cut back on at some point, because as we're driving, the engine's cooling down. It's not running. You see it's going down, it's going down. And when that gets down, that temperature gauge gets down, almost to the bottom, it's going to say, I need some more engine heat to give you the 75-degree temperature in the cabin that you're looking for. And then we'll repeat back where we started. Very interesting.